Hello duckies and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. Today we are making Jane Bennett cottage. So this is a pretty traditional cottage because I imagine that Jane Bennett would live in a pretty traditional cottage if she just randomly had one. um, I also did a video a couple days ago making Jane Bennett in Cass. I'll put a card up to that here. And right now I'm getting the cottage set up here. I feel like it needed a porch. I feel like it needed like that kind of like homey, like when you see old houses and you walk up to them and they have those big porches. It seems like every house built before like the 1960s or 70s seems to have a porch, at least like where I live in Northern California. Speaking of living in California, so yesterday I was taking my kids for a drive because they like to do that, and I was just driving, doing my thing, having a good time, and I was on the freeway and a highway patrolman pulled up behind me, and of course I was like, oh my gosh, am I speeding? Have I done something wrong? Like I'm like making sure that I'm going exactly the speed limit, right? And he's like tailgating me, and the lane to my right was clear. And so I was like, okay, why is he tailgating me? Why is he not getting over? What's happening? Oh my gosh, is he gonna pull me over? So as I'm mentally like kind of freaking out and trying to decide, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? The lights start flashing and I was like, oh my gosh. But they flashed for like 2 seconds. So what I did was I pulled over to the other lane, which had been clear this entire time. So I pulled over to the other lane and he just goes by like super fast. I was just like, seriously? You flashed your lights at me to get me to pull into the lane that was already empty and you could have easily gone around me? I was not happy. Oh my gosh. That's just like, why would you do that? Like, he could have totally just gone around like easily. There was plenty of room. Like, why did he have to flash his lights at me to get me to move? I don't know. And then like after I did it, because I moved over kind of as a reflex, I realized like, oh my goodness, like I am not okay with this. So then I was like, I'm gonna follow this cop and get his like car number and complain. So I started doing that for like about 2 seconds until I realized he must have been going like 90 miles an hour because he was already way, way, way ahead of me. And it was just very frustrating because like he totally used intimidation to just go a little, like just to get me to move over. Like, really? Like, that's not okay. So that's the bee in my bonnet for today. This build was super fun because I haven't gotten to do like a no holds barred super traditional cottage in a long time, and I really like the landscaping on this was my favorite part. I think that's one of my strengths as a builder is like natural looking landscaping, and I really like went out all out on this one. It looks so fun, and like the grass really just grew that way, and that like it just makes me happy. I also used a bunch of the Country Charm kit pack for this build, and it was fun because there's a couple packs that I haven't built a cottage with yet. One of them is the Country Charm pack, and then also the Paranormal pack, because that pack had a lot of really fun like 70s ish decor items and plants and things like that. So it was fun to have that sort of 70s country-ish situation happening. I wonder too, like, if Jane really would live in a more traditional cottage, or do you think that she would be more of like a modern woman if she lived in the modern world? I've been trying to think about this. Like, what would the Bennett sisters really be like if instead of being set in like 1815 or so, they were suddenly moved forward in time to now, like 2021? What would they be like? I feel like Jane would still be like a very sort of cozy and traditional type of person. And then I think that Lizzie would probably love books and gardening. And Mary, of course, would be surrounded by music of all sorts of different ways. And then I think when I do Kitty and Lydia, I think I'm gonna make their cottage together, and I might make it like extremely sort of modern and blingy, because like, couldn't you see them living, if they lived in modern times, just being super blinged out, and like maybe even like wearing spray tan and like long nails. Like, I could just see that, because they loved beauty and fashion and stuff, and like there's that part at the beginning of the book where they're fighting over the bonnet because Kitty made it, but Lydia thinks it suits her better. Like, couldn't you see them like easily fighting over, I don't know, like a mini dress or a nail polish or something? I could just see that. I might do a Mrs. Bennett cottage too, and like, I think that would be interesting, because that, if I did that, I would make everything super fussy. By fussy, I mean like, you know, like lace curtains, tons of knickknacks, like over decorated, like every single wall just like covered in decorations. I can just think Mrs. Bennett's, if she didn't have any restrictions, I feel like that's what her house would be like. I kind of like the idea too of doing like a cottage inspired by Mr. Bingley's house. Longbourn, I think. No, Longbourn is the Bennett's house. What is Mr. Bingley's house? I can't remember. Is it Chatsworth? I think it's Chatsworth. And then I know Mr. Darcy's house is Pemberley, for sure. But it'd be interesting maybe to do like a Mr. Bennett library and like Mr. Darcy house or so. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I'm already having a lot of fun with this, and my next build is gonna be a Lizzie inspired cottage. And for her cottage, it's gonna have tons of books, and I think I'm gonna build like a Victorian style like conservatory, which is basically like a greenhouse. I think that would be really, really interesting. I'm looking, this series has already been so much fun, and I've only just made Jane. So next week I'm gonna be making Lizzie the Sim, and then I'll build her cottage to go with her. This technique that I'm using here, I turn the softness all the way up, and then use like, what I tend to do is I'll make it a little bit more opaque at first, and then I'll turn this, or not opaque, but just like strong, I guess is a better word. And then I turn the softness all the way down and just kind of brush the edges with it, so it gives it that really almost like 3D look, like there's been a path worn into the grass. When and then I will run the soft brush over it a bunch of times. Like, if you imagine, like, if you lived in this house, you'd be walking across these particular areas like over and over again to get to, you know, your gardening plots, and just to like go and do whatever it is that you need to do. So after a while, you would wear down those paths naturally in the grass. So that's really what I tried to make out here, is paths that looked very organically worn into the path. I almost never use the wishing well, and I don't know why. It's so like everything that I love. Like, I love fairy tales. I love, old English literature. I have a feel like been sort of turning around in my head doing like a Britlit save file, because I haven't done a save file and I've been thinking about starting one, but I didn't know what kind I wanted to do, and I think that could be really fun. Like, wouldn't it be neat to build either Thornfield or a Thornfield inspired house? That's the house in one of the houses anyway in Jane Eyre, the main house that burned down. um, or like, there's so many like fun, interesting literature inspired things I could do, or even like a fairy tale save that could be fun too. I sort of started one that was based on Scottish fairy tales, but I only did, I think, 2 builds and like 1 cast, because those were really, really hard. They were fun, but like I have Scottish is my heritage, but I didn't know that until fairly recently, so I'm still learning like about Scottish fairy tales and what they entail and all of that. Anyway, if you'd be interested in a Britlit save, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!